You see.
And have you ever been to Yorkshire? If you ain't come through to catch a vibe with us, then you ought to. Anything past 15 degrees, yeah, we're calling it a scorcher. Couple beers, chat shit, yeah, and later if you need it, they can sort you. If you ever come to Yorkshire, and have you been to the north, yeah? Look around, it's popping, yeah, there ain't no stopping us, we're sorted. And when the money gets tight.
Good evening, guys. Welcome to Crossroads Boxing with myself, CJ Spray, and my main man over there, Ez. We've got lots to talk about tonight. Massive shout out as well to our new intro music from ADMT. And before we get kicked off, we will just go to a short clip for D-Rock Clothing. Boom, we're back.
We are back. We're back with episode 8, I think it is. Episode 8. The last crescendo. There's so much been going on in boxing, but we've got to start off where we left off last week. We'll go through the cards and we'll go through our predictions as well, what we make of it. First fight, we had Callum Smith versus Joshua Buatsi.
What a fight as well. What an absolute banger.
I'll let you go first because you got this one. Did you get this one right? I'm sure you got this one right.
Make my scorecard. Oh, yeah, I did. To be fair, I put down Smith that Smith would stop Buatsi, and he didn't. I think through that bout, touch and go at loads of points, I thought, like, is he going to stop him? Is Buatsi going to stop Smith? But that's a proper edge of your seat fight. That's what you want in there.
Yeah, that fight, it was like we both called it. It was 50-50. It was, I believe Callum Smith might be on the slide, whilst Joshua Buatsi was going to prove what he was made of and his ability. I think both fighters, all in all, sort of showed they are both world level.
Absolutely.
I also think Buatsi sort of, for me, kind of lost himself the fight without, just because he had Callum hurt a few times where he could have capitalized, and his feet, he was laboured in his movement to finish him off or to let shots off, even when there was on the inside. And I think I've got some feedback. 1 second.
No problem.
Yeah, well, I'll finish this and I'll sort it out after. Yeah, he was on the inside. When he was on the inside, he would wait. He was waiting for Callum to throw, and he was just waiting so long where he could have let shots go, especially to Callum's body, because Callum looked, after 4 rounds, I thought Callum was gassed. I thought, what's happening here? Callum literally doesn't look like he has his legs under him properly. But
slowed down. Sorry, mate. Yeah, Callum looked like he started to slow down at one stage, which I noticed that as well. I think for both fighters at different times throughout the fight, there was some really weird behaviour from both of them. You nailed it there with Buatsi. Buatsi could come forward, bang, bang, and then it was like your second phase, I'd say, in amateur boxing. There was no finishing, there was no after. I didn't understand that, and that went right through the fight.
Yeah, he kept walking really slow towards Callum, and Callum would just let off a jab and it would land because he was just able to time Buatsi because there was no head movement. He was sort of just walking into the firing line thinking that Callum was hurt and didn't really have anything for him. But also fair play to both of the chins. Buatsi's chin, for me, wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. because we all know Callum can hit. We know Callum's a puncher. At 175 as well, he's proven he's a puncher. And for Buatsi not to go down, credit to him. I'd like to see him run it back again. I think it was that sort of fight where Buatsi can look at it and think, I can change this to win this. I can change this. And Callum, maybe Callum can do the same, to be honest with you. I think maybe a little bit fitter. I don't know whether his fitness levels were right up there, although I can't really say that because he went all 12. But at times in that fight, he looked like he was labouring. Just before we continue, I just want to say a big up to Trill. Everyone, go check his album out. He's got a new album out. So, yeah, check it out. Big up to Trill. Go on, then. What else did you want to say about that fight?
I think the result panned out better for the future. So I do think we are at the back end of Callum's career. Not that he's finished or washed up, but we're certainly going into his last few big fights. Would he have come again from a loss? He would have struggled, I think. Whereas Buatsi definitely has that time. I think he needs a new team. I think he needs to have a real reset. But coming back, I do think he will be better off from that performance and will come up to higher levels again.
That's a good thing you touched on his team, because we were saying on the live, me, Rico, Trill, we were all doing a live watch along, and we all said that we couldn't hear Virgil. Virgil didn't give him. We felt like we needed a corner where it was saying, Josh, you need to move your feet quicker. Josh, you need to get in there. You need to. And Virgil's that kind of trainer anyway. Everybody knows what Virgil's about. He's really quiet. There isn't too much get up and go about him. He's very calm in his instruction. But you look at the other corner in Buddy McGirt in that 12th round for Callum, saying, give me everything. I will carry you out of here if I have to, but you've got 3 minutes. Let's go. You can do it. And the motivation, and whether Buatsi would what's the word I'm looking for? Would respond to that, I don't know, but I would like to see it. You know what I mean? I'd like to see a trainer in there getting in his ear.
Until he's got that right team around him, giving him that information. This happens quite a lot in boxing, not to branch off completely from this fight, but you don't hear a lot of the right stuff in the corner at the minute. Like, you need a rocket up your ass to tell you have just lost the last 3 rounds. You need to go out there and put this man down. Like, there needs to be a lot more honesty in corners, and I think we would benefit. I think that actually counts a lot for Shiraz's corner as well. I mean, I didn't hear the urgency again, but sticking to Buatsi, I would say maybe a new team is needed, and he's young enough and fresh enough to come back and do something in that division. He's clearly made himself he's clearly made his level clear, Buatsi. He is right up there. Losing to Callum Smith is no shame and no feat.
I agree with you. I think he has shown that there's obviously a lot of questions about him before this fight, but he has shown his levels. He has shown that he belongs at world level. I think, like you said, he does need a new team. He could benefit in someone actually sticking a rocket, like you said, getting at him, saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, Josh. And I think he can come back.
Zach King just commented then about the caliber of opponents for Buatsi not being the same. I think we touched on that last week. Buatsi hadn't fought at that level, and do you know what? I was actually going to say I think it showed. I don't think it did. I think Buatsi was bang up there. He's just come up against a real elite level fighter in Smith. That's all it is.
I think maybe the experience showed a little bit where you have Callum hurt and Callum's against the ropes. You have to work. You can't let someone of that level get away with being against the ropes, being laboured. You can't allow those opportunities to go, because when those opportunities go, is not very often you get them again in a fight, especially against a guy like Callum Smith, who's he's a very good fighter. You've got to remember, this guy's only lost to Canelo and Beterbiev.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
He's been at that level. Buatsi, I still would like to see the Yard fight next for Boatsy as well, if it's not the rematch, because for me, Yard beating Lyndon Arthur for a second time doesn't put him clear of what Boatsy's just fought at. It doesn't, because you've already beat this guy the last time you fought him. Yes, it's a trilogy. He beat you the first time, but you beating him again, I still think that fight between those two, it would be good, because Joshua Boatsy coming off a loss, Yard coming off a win. People still have questions because we still don't know where Yard is at yet either. We don't know if he's at that level yet, because he went in there against Beterbiev, I get it, but he got stopped. He went in there against Kovalev, I get it, you got stopped. But Boatsy's been up there with Callum Smith, who's at that world level, and he went 12 rounds with him in a very close fight, a 50-50 fight. So for me, I think if Yard coming off a win and Boatsy coming off a loss, that fight is probably the right time to make it now. Boatsy needs, it's a must-win fight for both of them.
I found one of the comments then, it's just shot past me, about Smith taking the Bivol fight at Anfield. There we go. Yeah. Best thing for Smith will be challenging his Bivol at Anfield. I fancy Smith's chances. I do think you hit the nail on the head. His legs didn't look completely there. I don't know if that's maybe age catching up or a few more miles on the clock than he would have wanted at this stage in his career. But I don't have Smith worlds apart from them two, Beterbiev and Bivol. Not in the slightest. Smith lost against John Wright.
Yeah. Trill says definitely was the experience that got him the win for Callum Smith. I agree. I think he manoeuvred, especially late in the fight, he manoeuvred himself very well. Boatsy's experience wasn't on display in the fight. Callum has the ringing and the experience to control the ring. He did well. I thought Callum Smith fought a brilliant fight. I thought after, like I said, he looked like his legs had gone very early, and I thought, oh, Boatsy can get him here. But how he got himself back into that fight and controlled the fight, for me, it was a clear win at the end of the fight. Although the fight was a really good fight, I felt that Callum Smith won the fight at the end of it.
Absolutely. Listen, people, I do actually think people have forgot Callum Smith won the Super 6 tournament. Do you know what I mean? He beat everyone that there was to beat. That stood up to enter that competition. Smith has no peers in boxing for me. Like for what he did at super middleweight, I do think people do forget that as he's moved up weights.
Yeah, I think also when he was at super middleweight, the likes of Benavidez and Zerto and those guys didn't want to fight him. They wasn't interested in fighting Callum at that point. We'll move on to the next fight on that card. Zhile Zhang versus Ajit Kabayel.
Who did I get that one right?
I can't remember. I think I got that one right. I think I got
it
to the point as well. I think I got it to the point. Body shot.
You put stoppage and I put knockout as well. So I thought that was obvious going into it after Zhang's last few performances. I tell you, the body work from Kabayel really impressed me. What I will say is at first, when I saw it, they looked a bit like arm shots, a bit slappy on the midsection, and I didn't think they'd cause him any dramas at first. But clearly, after a couple of rounds in, he's reddened. You could tell he just drained his battery life straight down. Kabayel is a massive force to be reckoned with in the heavyweight division. Very underestimated.
I agree with that. I agree 100% with that. I think a lot of people who called it that it would be to the body. I think you're looking at Kabayel's previous two fights against, was it Makhmudov and Sanchez, both of them going down to body work from Kabayel, and everyone knew Zhang's gas tank isn't there. Like that's one of his biggest problems is his gas tank, and Kabayel's team clearly did the homework. They did what they needed to do, and like you said, the shots did it. It was sort of quick pity patty shots at first,
That's what I thought.
From Caballel. It was just, I think he was trying to keep using his feet so he wasn't in line for those big shots from Zhang. Even though he did get caught, credit to Zhang, but Caballel, it didn't deter him. He carried on doing exactly what he needed to do, kept going to the body, which was the goal. To be quite honest with you, the whole card sort of, it seemed to, bodywork seemed to be a lot of the fight's main things in a lot of those cards those fights on the card. Sorry, Callum Smith's bodywork against Buatsi was really good. Some very good body shots from him, and then Caballel with the stoppage. It's Caballel for me. He's top 5. I'd put him. Top 5. I'd put him top 5. Definitely.
He's absolutely got to be. Here's a question that I had loaded up from. I wrote it down from last week as to whoever was going to be the winner. Would you put Itoma in there now with Zhang as a good fight for him to sort of climb up the ranks again to see if he is at that level? Or do you think Itoma just wipes out Zhang straight away?
I think Itoma's too quick for Zhang. I think his movement and how quick he is. I think
everyone's all over Moses. Look at this. Everyone is all over Moses.
I think, but I don't know whether they put him in there because I don't think they're ready to throw Zhang away. I think they're willing to give, because Zhang is a good fighter in that heavyweight division. They're seen at that level where we're at right now. He's still in the mix. Like I said a few shows ago, Itoma doesn't belong in that mix yet. Let him deal with the domestic and the European level and the world level. We have so many fights. Like Zhang can come back and fight plenty of people in the division. You've still got Frank Sanchez. You've still got Bacoli. You've still got Parker. Well, he's already fought Parker. Who else? There's plenty of fighters in there. It's still Zhang versus AJ. There's still people that want to see that. So I don't think they're ready to throw Zhang away yet. And I think a Moses Itoma fight would be throwing him away.
When I say Chai, you say no. Listen, big Gilles Zhang, the Big Bang, the King, is. I've enjoyed having him. I've enjoyed watching him. I've enjoyed him being part of this. Do I think he's got long left in the division? No. I think he showed his age. I mean, he looks like, I can say this because I can get away with it. He looks like a big ball. I was just chilling out in that heavyweight division back in paydays. I think from here on, he just keeps getting stopped and wiped out. And that's not me saying he's not coming there, but other than his power, there is nothing else going for him now.
I think people have sussed it. I think the body work and his gas tank, people have sussed him out. I think more or less every fight he has now, I think his opponent, it will be the body they focus on just to drain him. But what next for Caballel? What next for him?
Caballel, right, do you know what? He just impresses me every single time that bit more. And then they keep putting the big names in front of him, and you're like, I'll be honest. When they said Sanchez, I was like, ooh, maybe a step too far. Boom, done. For Caballel now, he's got to be waiting for his shot. Surely to God, he's got to be waiting for his shot. It's clear Frank Warren wanted Dubious Dubois to get in with Usyk as soon as possible. So while Parker's waiting in the shadows, is that a fight we make? Caballel versus Parker?
I'd love to see that fight. I'd love to see that fight. I think that would be probably number 3 versus number 4 in the division, taking away Usyk, who's the champion.
I would love to get a 4-pack of Stella, some cheesy chips and gravy, and sit back and watch that fight.
Rico will be cringing in the background right now. Oh God! Next fight on the card is
gross.
Is Virgil Ortiz versus Madrimov. What did you make of that fight?
Oh, you're asking me. Very, very. I mean, it was probably the start I expected from Ortiz. I knew Madrimov's feet would just be like flowing around the ring. but it took a little longer than I thought for him to catch up to him. I think when he did, it showed. When he started cutting the ring off rather than chasing Madrimov, that's when the work started, and that's what we expected. I loved seeing Madrimov plant his feet a little bit and come trade off. That surprised me, and I really enjoyed that. Ortiz, massive threat. Really, really, really is. I think he's turned, I don't know what the word is, he's turned a lot of doubters now because he's boxed someone who really can box, if you know what I mean, as in movement-wise. What do you think to Madrimov? Can he come back? What's his?
Yeah. I think Madrimov needs to. Him and his camp need to realize that that footwork and that is great, but you're not going to get all the credit you deserve for it. When he stood and fought, he actually he did well. I enjoyed it. I thought he did well against Ortiz, trying to trade with a puncher like Ortiz. I thought he did well. I thought his defense wasn't bad. He clearly hurt. He clearly was catching Ortiz as well. Looking at the state of Ortiz's face after the fight, Ortiz's performance itself. After 4 rounds, I think he finally decided he knew how to box again, because he was just chasing Madrimov around, just following him around. He was just following him around for 3 rounds, and we was on track. Why is he doing that? And I think Trill was saying, he needs to stop following. He needs to start cutting the ring off and make Madrimov stand still. And once he started doing that, the performance itself was brilliant. I think Madrimov, there's plenty of fights in that division. There's so many fights in that division, and fighters who Madrimov can beat in that division as well. That, for me, is probably one of the stacked divisions anyway, 154. Without being like glamour names, you know what I mean? But boxers themselves and the ability of the boxers in that division, I like it. I think there's plenty of fights for these guys. They're young enough where they could fight. Ortiz and Madrimov can run it back again. I'm not saying straight away, but down the line they can run it back again, because I don't think anybody would be upset about getting that fight again.
No, do you know what I didn't mention in that is Ortiz's maturity really impressed me. He didn't rush. Well, I mean, he was putting the pressure on and he was swinging at times, but he didn't rush.
At first, he was rushing. I felt like at first, the first 3 rounds, I felt like he was rushing a lot, where he wasn't thinking about cutting off the ring. He was just thinking about getting to Madrimov. And Madrimov's feet early was so good that it just made Ortiz look like he was following him. It was basically a bull versus matador sort of thing, where Madrimov would let his shots go, land, and just move, and Ortiz just sort of looked like he was stuck. But as soon as he changed his game plan and put it on Madrimov in a smart way rather than just bulldozing, he changed the fight.
We'll just catch up on some of these comments, mate. This last one here. Gilles Zhang versus Martin McCauley would be fireworks. Completely agree with you. I think Martin McCauley needs to have a bit of a camp. Let's just get that out there first. Right? He was ginormous getting in that ring. But McCauley in camp absolutely manhandles Zhang. Like, leathers him. Gives him a proper good Yorkshire Northern hiding. Gives him a rear.
I think McCauley will swarm Zhang. I think the weight, he'll put his weight on Zhang. McCauley as well has heavy hands. I don't know how much more Zhang can take as well.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be able to take the onslaught of him. Just that McCauley wading in, big shot swinging all over the top. Zhang would just start tucking up into that southpaw stance, and then I don't think it wouldn't take long at all for McCauley to topple him over. I really don't.
Yeah, we've got Right in Boxing Yogi saying Ortiz is always fun to watch. He fights from the hip. He seems like a natural boxer. Yeah, I like watching Ortiz. I think like you said, I think he proved a lot of doubters wrong in that fight. Oscar De La Hoya owns Eddie Hearn once again.
I think everyone likes the excitement of Ortiz, don't they? I think Ortiz is a bit of a throwback to the real aggressive, natural.
He likes the scrap, that he's good at boxing. His boxing ability is very good.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there'll be anyone disagreeing with seeing again in future.
Next one, we'll go Carlos Adames versus Hamza Shiraz. Right, first off, what do you think it was a draw?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to get off my chest first. Is Hamza Shiraz lost me my bet. All right, he's got a lot of answering to do with William Milkos. What was that about? If anything, mate, listen, as if there was anything we were dead certain of last week, it was Shiraz, wasn't it?
Yep, and that was it.
Complete polar opposite. He was negative. He was punch shy. I don't think he deserved a draw. I think it's absolutely a disgrace that he got a draw, mate, if I've got to be honest with you. I don't know what it was. Did the show get to him? Was it under the, what do they call it, like rabbit in headlights? Whatever it was, Shiraz was a shell of the last Shiraz we saw.
I think it's the weight. I've said to you privately, I think it's the weight. I think you look at fight week, even at the weigh-in, he looked so drained. Even his interview, he was just like, "Yeah, I'm ready," and then shot off. I think he got in there. Everyone's going on about his hand, but it was the hand he broke, the hand he damaged or whatever he's done to it was his jab hand, which he used all the fight. The whole of the fight, he used that hand. The hand that wasn't damaged, he barely threw. We was on stream saying, why isn't he throwing his right hand? He's not throwing it. He just allowed after 3 rounds. And to be quite honest with you, looking back at those 3 rounds, it's like you didn't even really win those rounds. Carlos Adames just didn't do anything. And because you're perceived the A side, even though you're not the champion, people sort of just gave you those rounds as in, yeah, your defense is up, Carlos is just following you, you're throwing your jab out, you are landing the jab, but did you really win that round? And the rounds that Carlos Adames won, he won them clear. He won them quite clean. I think Shiraz didn't do anything in that fight to warrant a draw. I think he would be lucky. He would be lucky to get a 7-4 or a 7-5 or an 8-4 decision, to be quite honest with you, because after 3 rounds, I don't believe he won a round.
I think he got gifted the draw, which should never be a thing in boxing. Unfortunately, we all know that does happen. I also think Adames lost himself that fight by, you say, sitting back, not pressing on when he was getting so much success in pressing on. I didn't understand that part of it. Just to nip off to that comment, as Moses Satoma versus Andy Ruiz Jr. would be interesting. I think Andy Ruiz Jr. is done, unless he does something drastically different. His last 3 performances, he's beat Chris Arreola, who looks like a dad at Asda. Luis Ortiz has been finished for a long time, and Jarrell Big Bailey Miller only getting a draw. I mean, come on.
And he didn't get a draw. He didn't deserve a draw. Then people are going about Shiraz. He did not deserve a draw. I don't even like Miller. I can't stand Miller, but Miller won that fight.
Big Bill.
I can't stand him, but he won that fight. And yet again, it was third. I would still like
to Wilder. Yeah.
Listen, if that fight, this is the same thing I said about the Eubank versus Ben fight. Yeah, we'll get onto that in a little bit, but everybody's going on about they don't want to see it. They don't want to see it. It's past it. It don't mean nothing. As soon as those fights are signed, people will gravitate. I said it with the Eubank and Ben. I said people can talk as much shit as they want right now, but once that fight is signed, best believe people want to watch it. Now there's 130,000 people in a queue to get tickets. Well, people are mad. They like to talk. A lot of boxing fans, I think they just do it for the sake of doing it, but they don't realise when it comes to British boxing, like, it's massive when it comes to fights like that. Grudge matches, anything like that, we'll love it. And best believe Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua is still a grudge match. And Americans will come out behind the sofas where they've been hiding since Wilder got knocked out, wherever all these YouTube channels that shut down when Wilder got slept, all of them will come back and believe that Deontay Wilder can beat AJ, and that will be another massive fight.
And it's a great fight. And you're right, it'll get so much stick. If it ever came to it, it would get so much stick. Why wouldn't you want to see that? Both men fighting for the careers again. They hate each other. It built up over the years. If you're happy, if you take the fact that Fury and Joshua is the Battle of Britain, why would you want? Why are you happy to see Joshua Fury, but you're not happy to see Joshua Wilder with all the beef that they've had over the years?
Well, all I can say is we wanted to see those two at the best, right? Joshua and Wilder. I can agree with people on that. Yeah, we wanted to see the best. But this is an opportunity to see both fighters at the worst.
And desperate.
At the worst and down. Like, this is because let's remember, when they was at the best, that wasn't a career-defining defeat for either of those guys. At the end of the day, that would have been for undisputed. Whoever won, they won. The next person would come back, go back to the drawing board or whatever. You'd have a rematch, whatever. But this fight here, this is career ending, because this is a fight that should have happened 10. How many years ago we're talking? Yeah, about 10 years ago, 2015.
About 10 years ago.
Yeah, but nearly 10 years ago. And we could see this fight now at the worst, both of them at the worst, and people will gravitate, because it will be built as a retirement fight for both of them. Whoever loses is done, and probably the career will be looked at as, oh, they were never this, without context. But I think I'd love to see the fight. I'd love to see that fight. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to. I'll let you speak on this one.
Sorry, mate. Which fight we're going on to? Sorry, mate.
Rico versus Padley. Yeah.
It's Padley, Josh Padley. He did well, mate. Didn't he do well? Come on. There's not in boxing now, casual fan or diehard fan or social media watcher, YouTubers, misfitters, anybody right now who's interested in boxing, you've got to take your hat off to Paddy, who showed grit. He showed the Cinderella story of boxing, which makes you fall in love with boxing again. If you try, if you train, if you answer the phone, if you stay fit and ready, that he hasn't had the golden route, Josh Padley. Josh Padley, his first ever Yorkshire title, however many years ago that was in the amateurs. I was actually judging that day. That was my first day judging as an amateur official, and he won that title. He's not had the Olympic silver story. He's just a gritty, tough lad. He's working 9 till 5. He's come and done 9 rounds with Shakur Stevenson. That'll do for me, because I think with a full camp, he actually troubles Stevenson.
I tell you what, he it didn't surprise me, because I expected him to go in there and give absolutely his all. But he did well. He caught Stevenson at times. He stayed in there. He weathered the shots. Stevenson, at the end of the day, like I said, his boxing skill is up there. You know what I mean? He's one of the best boxers in the world, pound for pound. So to get in there at short notice, you've got 3 days notice, do 9 rounds, and your corner is the people that had to pull you out of there, because everybody knew you would have carried on and kept getting up. He did his job. He did his job as a stand-in to get in there and show that you're not in there for a paycheck. You're in there because you love boxing and you're a boxer. That's why you're in there. All these people, anybody who's going about electrician this, electrician that, you can discredit anyone for having a profession outside of boxing. There's only 1% of boxers that don't have a profession outside of boxing.
There was one tweet that I loved, as some guy put in, can we just think about the old lady whose sparks didn't get finished done this weekend because he tried out to react to Stevenson. Listen, he's hung up his tools. Like, officially, he's gonna become a professional full-time athlete. I think Josh Padley is a force to be reckoned with. I really do. He said to Jason that the body shots wasn't necessarily like sickening and hurting him. It was the body conditioning. It was the repeated coming down to the body that stopped him. I think he's in talks now, if I'm right, with pulling up the Maxi Hughes fight. I think that's a massive fight. Really good fight. Rico, good old Yorkshire tussle. These Maxi Hughes and Padley will go to war if that fight gets made.
That's a Donny banger if you've ever seen one, to be quite honest with you, because
Yeah.
because Maxi Hughes, I like watching Maxi fight. I like his style. I think he's a very good he's a good boxer. I think him and Padley, obviously, it would be a good fight. I think Padley to push on, that would be a good win. I think he'd get a lot of respect from Americans with a Maxi Hughes fight as well. A win against Maxi Hughes, I think he'll get quite a bit of credit for that. Because the Americans seem to actually like Maxi, funnily enough.
They do. We've got a lot of respect for Max. It's great to see.
So I think if he can get a win over Maxi, which isn't an easy fight, I think that would be good. That would get him a good ranking as well. People already know his name because he's fought Shakur. That's really good for him. So hopefully he's getting a promoter, and he moves on from this. And this is a blessing that and he can be a full-time boxer and prove that he is at that level if he can train full-time.
And Maxi, like, he's having a real Indian summer, isn't he, for his career? I mean, he's just what, like a fine wine, isn't he? He's just improving. I
remember when Maxi lost to who was it? Martin J. Ward.
I was in Manchester, J. Ward, and it was like, where's he going to go from here? To then losing to Sam Bowen and then Liam Walsh. Then bigger wins over John O'Carroll, and then he beat that Kochigev or whatever, and it was a real shock. I mean, look now, he beat Kid Galahad.
He also beat George Kambosos in my eyes because he didn't lose that fight.
I think he did too, yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people thought he won that fight as well. Fabio Wardley versus Jermaine Franklin would be interesting. Yeah, it would. I'd like to see Jermaine Franklin back, actually. I've not seen him for a while. I think not for you.
Not for me, that one, mate. I'm sorry, I won't interrupt you. I'll let you crack on with that one.
I want to see Jermaine Franklin back because the two fights he's had, fighting Dillian White, which I thought he possibly could have won that fight. He's took AJ rounds. I think he did. Who else? Has he fought someone since? I'm not sure if he's fought since.
I'll pull that up, mate, because I'm actually not too sure on that one.
I'm sure he's had a fight.
Sorry, mate. I'll just say, speaking of Wardley, we haven't heard much from there, have we, since the big Fraser Clark demolition job? There's not been too much said.
No, well, he sort of put his hand up for that Joseph Parker fight and then put it back down.
When it came real like
that. Yeah. You put it back
down. Franklin, after the Joshua loss, boxed Isaac Munoz Gutierrez and then Devin Vargas as well. That was in 24, his last bout.
Yeah, he needs to get back in the mix because at the end of the day, he's still got a name. He needs to get back in the mix. I think a Fabio Wardley fight. Yeah, maybe. There's enough fighters in that division though to match these guys up anyway. Who else? Right, we shall go to Parker Bacoli.
Oof.
Who did you pick for that?
I picked Bacoli stoppage, actually. Look at you now racking the points up. Yeah. It really did surprise me, the outcome of that fight, I've got to say. As in how quickly round 2 stoppage. I didn't see that coming at all.
No,
what's this one? Jared Anderson will become world heavyweight champion of the world, mark my words. What, all three of them will become world heavyweight champion?
Yeah, your words are marked, but and there's a cross next to every single one of them. Philip Hergovich, Frank Sanchez, and Jared Anderson. What?
No.
I've not heard from Philip Hergovich since Daniel put him in the dirt. Frank Sanchez is still trying to pick his stomach up from what Caballero did to him. And Anderson, I don't even know if that kid wants to be in boxing, to be quite honest with you.
Bacoli flattened him. I tell you what, whatever you're smoking, I will have some of that because those three will never be a world heavyweight champion. Never come close.
JP has rejuvenated his career. He's a different fighter now. I agree. I think I think a lot of people was picking Bacoli because they saw what he did to Anderson and whatnot. But I don't care who you are on 2 days' notice or whatever it is. If you think you're going to get in there with a Joseph Parker, who is, like Chul says, rejuvenated, on a hot streak. A lot of people want to discredit his wins, saying, "Oh well, Zhang's 40 years old and Wilder was done, and this and that." Listen, the guy had to get in there and do what he did. And for Bacoli, obviously, I wasn't expecting the stoppage. I never envisioned it would be a stoppage from Parker. But Bacoli's obviously he had no conditioning. He had zero conditioning for that fight. You could sort of tell. Parker also changed up really quickly, a lot quicker than I thought he would do, because at first his feet was quick. He was in and out trying to get inside and then get back out. But then all of a sudden he decided he wanted to scrap with him and then landed that big shot, and Bacoli went down and Billy Nelson had to pull him out because, let's be honest, Billy Nelson knew Bacoli couldn't be in there with him right now. They took the payday. They saved the show, to be quite honest with you, because Bacoli, just the name, people needed that. I think the show needed that name for it to carry on with the two pullouts they had. We needed that. And fair play for Bacoli to get in there after being on a flight and all that, but JP was never losing that fight.
Joseph Parker is the most improved heavyweight going. To come from where he's come, to change his career, to come back after setbacks. He, as we touched on it last week, the team, it's now all clicking with Andy Lee. I think Joseph Parker, I really, really wouldn't rule him out being heavyweight champion. Really causing up, and I mean upset. I don't know whether a Usyk upset, people might call me absolutely bananas for that, but he just seems to tick all the boxes at the minute. His game plans are 100% right, which means his team's right. His conditioning, he's always coming in bang on for what he needs to be, and whether that's losing a bit of weight and getting on his toes, whether that's putting a bit more beef on to stand and trade. Everything Joseph Parker's doing is right.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I believe that there's a reason why Daniel Dubois pulled out of that fight, and I think it was because of Joseph Parker. To be quite honest with you, I was picking Joseph Parker to beat Daniel from the get-go. I think he has the right style to beat Daniel. I think people are expecting Daniel to just overwhelm Parker, like Parker hasn't been there before. Parker is a fighter who has been around the block. The guy has been in there with, whether win or lose, he's been in there. He was in there with AJ, and that was probably AJ's toughest fight before the Andy Ruiz fight, to be quite honest with you.
I would say that, mate, yeah.
And a lot of people wasn't impressed with AJ in that fight, and that's because Parker did what he does, and he's already been a world heavyweight champion. He beat Andy Ruiz, even though I still think that Ruiz edged that fight, but he became world champion. He also defended that belt. He fought for unification and came up short, but like Joe said, the second half of his career, the rejuvenation, his team, like you say, his corner, Andy Lee, everything just seems to be clicking. And I believe he can win a world heavyweight championship again. I think Usyk's probably got one fight left. I think he beats Daniel and then probably scatters the belts or whatever. Unless he gives Parker a shot. But I think Parker will fight for a title. And I think if it's not against Usyk, I would pick him to win.
Do you know what? I'd still like to see him fight Usyk though, just to see how he does.
I wouldn't mind the fight. I'm not saying I would. I'm saying if I would pick him to win a title if it's not Usyk. If he fights Usyk, I'm gonna pick Usyk. Right? You can't go against Usyk. Well, I still think it'll be a good fight because size-wise, I think those two are quite similar. And it'll be quite good to see Usyk against someone a similar size of him, because I remember down at cruiserweight he had a little bit of trouble down at cruiserweight as well. With who was it? Gorasti? I can't remember who it was. Yeah, is it Gowatski or whatever it was? He had a bit of trouble with. So I'd like to see. I would like to see that fight.
Be a brilliant fight, mate. Absolutely brilliant fight.
Bakoli is still fighting FA, apparently.
I don't rate FA Jaguar. I know I've said this like every week, but I really don't rate FA Jaguar. Bakoli is not out of my list for being up there. He needs to get fit. He maybe even needs to separate from Billy Nelson. That's probably unpopular, but he just needs to shake things up. He's an absolute monster of a man. He's clearly got devastating power. I know the stigma of heavyweights don't need to like weight condition or whatever like that. He needs to shift some timber, and that's coming from a tubby lad myself. Like the heavyweights that are creeping up now, you go through the stages through the years of heavyweights, from giants to like you Lennox Lewis and your Klitschko's who were fit but the size that they were. So now you come into smaller heavyweights again, like Parker, like Usyk, like Caballero. You know, they're smaller, they're much more agile, and much more energetic. Bakoli's not going to live with one of those dudes because he can't move.
They'll move him about. They'll move him around too much. They'll move him around.
I guarantee he'll have got in that ring about 25 stone. Do you know what I mean? He's not going 12 rounds with anybody.
No.
Can anybody imagine a hybrid cross mix between Terence Crawford and Jaron Ennis?
But as a heavyweight.
You are smoking some crazy stuff, whoever this gadget is. I think Rico would be proud. Rico would be proud of whatever you're smoking.
No, the fact that you even mentioned Jaron Ennis like he's done anything yet. Like he's not proven anything yet. Jaron Ennis, I like him as a fighter. I generally like Jaron Ennis, but come on, like Bud, you could ask that question. Jaron Ennis, what skills has Jaron Ennis displayed for you that an heavyweight needs? I don't know, but we'll go on to the main event before we move on to the juicy bits. The egg whites. Bivol versus Beterbiev. I picked Bivol on points. I think Bivol UD. I think I said that not a lot will change. He'll probably get more credit for what he did the last fight. What he needed to do was probably trade a little bit more, hold his feet a little bit more than he did the last fight. And I don't think he could have fought a better fight than what he did, to be quite honest with you.
No, I think both men gave their all, didn't they? Bivol's style just proved that it worked more in this fight, second time round. I honestly think what's the saying in boxing now? Is it Father Time's catching you up? I do think Beterbiev really is. The pace just isn't as it was. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think Bivol really realised that his movement would give Beterbiev trouble. Beterbiev came out a lot stronger than he did the previous fight. He came out. He looked like he was coming out for a knockout. He looked like this time you ain't going 12 with me. You'll be lucky to go 4 with me. But I actually have my card. Did you score that fight?
I didn't, mate. No. Well, I will have done. I've not got it on me. Should I say?
I felt it. I scored it 7-5 to Bivol. I think Bivol won the first couple of rounds. Then Beterbiev took over. I think he won 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then after that, Bivol just started to box, move, but hold his feet as well at times. I think every time Beterbiev would throw, Bivol would return with 3s and 4s rather than just the 1s and 2s he was doing the previous fight. He was just throwing, he was moving, throwing the 1-2, landing but moving and trying to catch Beterbiev's shot, where Beterbiev was throwing a lot more than him this time round. Bivol matched him. He matched his punch output. Even when he was on the back foot, as soon as Beterbiev would either land on his gloves, Bivol was ready to reply. I think his game plan was perfect. Although the fight itself, yet again, probably the second best fight I've seen. You know what I mean? And both of them from those two. So, what did you make of it?
Yeah, as Bivol, I mean, I watched the clips of like in camp and what the trainers were saying or what the game plans were going to be moving forward. The Bivol's trainer, like very broken English and like translated over, it was just like the same but more, like, and that is exactly what we got. Bivol just upped everything. He upped his work rate, he upped his punch output, and it paid off. I do think Beterbiev is slowing. I think his power isn't what it was. I actually think
one second. Do you just think that Bivol's got used to his power now? Because there's certain fights where fighters where they can get you. There's that one fighter you just can't seem to be able to knock out. But everybody else, it's like bread and butter. But this one fighter just seems to. I think Bivol has got used to his power. Plus Bivol's defense is so good.
I think Bivol not weathered the storm because he wasn't in that much trouble in the first fight, but I think Bivol took it and in this time round realised I'm going to go for it because I don't think he has anything in the locker to work me with or knock me out with, should I say. So I think Bivol's just proved his dominance. I think Beterbiev coming back, whatever the route will be, we now start to see the slide for Beterbiev. An up and coming, maybe coming and catching him off guard, or even the Smith. I actually think it would be the perfect time for Smith now to come back to box Beterbiev again.
I don't think Beterbiev fights anybody. I think he fight anybody else. I think he has the Bivol trilogy, and I think that'll be him. I think win or loss, I think he will retire after that. He's 41 now. Yeah, he's only had 23 fights, but the guy's had how many amateur fights or whatever it is?
4,000 fights.
Yeah, so I think he would. I think he'll have the Bivol trilogy, and that'll be him done, win or loss. But I don't think he can beat Bivol. I think Bivol sort of proved it in the first fight for me how he could beat Beterbiev because I felt like he won it. Second fight, he put a stamp on it. He put a stamp on it the second fight, and I think if they fight a third time, Bivol could possibly stop him because I saw in times in that fight where Bivol caught him and Beterbiev looked hurt, but Bivol sort of was like holding himself back, being disciplined, not to get caught. He still got caught in the last round. So, you know what I mean? Beterbiev is still dangerous. But I think Bivol has his number.
Can I say, in or around that region of both fighters coming away with $10 million? Can I just say that as well?
That's ridiculous.
Yes,
absolutely bad. Well, we've got about 7 minutes left of the show. We might as well have 7 minutes of the.
What we talk about for 7 minutes? What are we going to fit in?
What's happening in boxing right now? Is there anything? I don't think anything big, any drama or anything's happened really. We might as well cut the show short. 7 minutes. Nah, Chris Eubank Jr. absolutely slapping the hell out of Conor Benn with an egg. The thing is, I was going to watch that press conference, and I was like, when I messaged you, I was like, you know what, I'll come and meet you at the gym. And I was
Can I just say that's my mum comment? All right, Mandy.
You see, this is how good. This is how big of this fight is. Your mum even loves the egg.
My mum, she's put down the knitting needle. She's getting involved. All right. We love you. I think Eubank really he did everything he could in this in that presser to change things up. He's riled everybody up. I mean, he was upsetting Eddie and something rotten, and I was so enjoying that. I was
did you see today? Did you see today's? You haven't seen today's, have you?
No, I don't think I have. What's happened?
Oh, like nothing big, but he was back on it. As soon as Eddie started talking, he started laughing. He was like, Eddie, I've already told you. What do you think has changed in 48 hours? You are not talking. Like, so he had them all on a string. He said to Nigel Benn, he's like, I just want to, says Nigel, you put your hands on me. He's like, because of what happened, I will give you a pass. But if you ever put your hand on me again, you will not be getting it back. Connor instantly started barking, and he has them. Chris has them on a string, exactly where he wants them. He's just like,
and that's exactly what you need to do, Conor Benn. You need to get under his skin. I think Connor was wearing ridiculous silk pajamas to that press conference, right? And he did not think it was going to go that way. He thought he was going to wind Eubank up. He thought he was going to slag him off. And from the absolute get-go, Eubank turned it on its head. And now the fight's in a complete different area, I think. I really think the ball is completely in part now.
Well, they were happy with the Neymar comment. They was like, oh, look at, did you see him when I said about he owes money to Neymar?
Yeah.
I'll just mute you as I talk a second, CJ, because it's feedback. Yeah, he was going, oh well, yeah, did you see his face when I mentioned Neymar? Oh, you owe Neymar money. And I'm like, that is such childish bloody banter. You owe somebody money. So like, we're talking about the fight, and you're talking about, oh, you owe someone money. That's why you're taking this fight. Well, have an egg at the side of your face.
How did he get in through security with like 4 eggs in that Louis Vuitton jacket, by the way? Because surely someone's patted him down and thought like, that's a bit suspicious or something.
Right there, CJ, you're getting in trouble here. CJ, you're getting in trouble.
I know you wouldn't think I was 30, would you? Man, go to bed. That's enough now. What's your fight prediction? What's your fight prediction for Eubank in his egg Louis Vuitton jacket and Conor Benn in his silk pajamas? What's your fight prediction?
Eubank stops him. Eubank stops him. Conor will run into a shot. Have you seen the size of the guys? Like, Chris can say all he wants about it's not because of my size I'll beat him. Chris looks massive next to Conor. Like, not just height. He just looks massive next to Conor. And Conor, the way he fights and his mentality and how Chris is winding him up, he will probably run into an uppercut or run into a shot that he doesn't see while he's swinging wild, because Chris has been in there with better fighters than Conor and beat him.
Yeah. I think he was right in that comment of put some like respect on my name. You know, when people say, oh, every time you stepped up. Listen, I thought it was really, we're going back some years, but I thought he was really unlucky with the Billy Joe Saunders fight. It was literally like
I actually watched. I rewatched that fight because we was having a debate in our group chat about one of the lads was saying about, oh, Billy Joe Saunders beat him easy, and I was like, nah, I don't remember that. So we went back and watched it, and I scored it, and I still scored it to Chris by 1 round, and that I was like, that fight was a close fight, and people saying, oh yeah, you lost. Yeah, you can take context away from it, but he lost to Billy Joe Saunders in a split decision, in a British European title fight. Was it British, Commonwealth, and European title fight?
I think it was.
He beat the hell out of Nick Blackwell, who was giving people fits just before that. Nick Blackwell was a very good fighter. People want to downgrade the James DeGale win. James DeGale was old. So what? James DeGale was old. When he got in there against George Groves, who wasn't that good and got beat, and that was probably his worst performance. He got slated for not dealing with George Groves. So when he gets in there and does that to James DeGale, people are saying, oh, well, James DeGale is washed. You can't win. Like, it's strange to me. I think he's had good performances. That Yildirim, and people are like, oh, Yildirim. Yeah, he sparked to Yildirim out. Did you at 168?
In Turkey. Was it in Turkey that as well?
Yeah, it was at 168. People are forgetting that was at 168. This guy has power. Like Conor, I remember. Say that again.
He's never had. He has never had the respect he deserves. I do think he came into boxing wanting to be that bad guy persona of the, the stares of his dad, but it didn't work for him.
He is the bad guy now. The funny thing is, he tried to be the bad guy. People didn't like it because it was like you're a horrible imitation of your dad. And then it's sort of like you had opportunities to fight Triple G, you didn't do that. There's a lot of things that's gone against him because of his own doing, his stubbornness and whatever it is. But as a fighter, I've always liked Eubank. I'm a big Eubank fan. I always thought he was a good fighter. I think there's times where he should have proved it. I think against George Groves, he should have proved it. I think his game plan was horrible. That fight, by far his worst fight. But Conor, I still remember Conor Ben getting dropped by a Paynard. Like Conor, I remember, people forget. People forget. Chris has power at 168. His style before used to be overwhelm people. He didn't used to stand on his shots. He just used to let go of shots. Like every shot was hard from Chris before. At 160. But Conor at 140 was getting hurt by those guys before he went off for a year or whatever he did, his shoulder or whatever injury he had. And then he came back being an absolute killer, knocking everybody out.
We're getting told to wrap this up now, man. So last predictions, I will say an unjuiced up Conor Ben gets destroyed by Eubank in this bout.
That we can agree on, and we will leave it on that note. We will leave it on that note. Thanks everyone for tuning in and getting involved in the chat. Yeah, CJ, we've done another one.
Loved it.
Yeah, we'll catch you next week, same time, 9 p.m. Thursday. Yeah, we're out.
And have you ever been to Yorkshire? If you ain't come through to catch a vibe with us, then you ought to. Anything past 15 degrees, yeah, we're calling it a scorcher. Couple beers, chat shit, yeah, and later if you need it, they can sort you. If you ever come to Yorkshire, and have you been to the north, yeah? Look around, it's popping, yeah, there ain't no stopping us, we're sorted. And when the money gets tight,